Hello, hello. Welcome to today's topic. Today's topic, yes, you can. Before we start, I want you to pause the video, go make yourself a cup of tea or your favorite drink, and join me while we talk. Today's topic, I think, is very important. It's so needed. Yes, you can. Um, Glad you can join me today. Uh, So I want to dedicate today's video for everyone who's going through difficult time, whether it's personal through personal problems, or maybe due to some type of illness or some type of health issue that you might be going through. Because I think that sometimes we're going through so many difficult things in our lives, and there are moments that we basically or literally feel like we are drowning and we have no way out. So today's topic or today's talk is basically for those people who feel that you just can't anymore. If you have gotten to the point that you say, that's it, I feel like all is lost, I feel like there's no more hope, then this is for you. So I want you to join me. Grab your cup of tea or favorite drink. I love tea. This is actually chamomile tea. It helps me to relax, helps me to get comfortable. I love it. Okay, so let's go with this. Let's start with this. So before anything, before we continue, I want to let you know that there's nothing wrong with you if you are feeling this way. And we have to remember that we are human. I want you to remember, I'm talking to you. I want you to remember you are human. You're entitled to feel overwhelmed and you're entitled to feel stressed. Now, how we do with that, or what we do when we feel like that, that's the key. But no one has ever said that you are a Superman, you are a superhero, you are a superwoman, and that you are never going to feel this way. You are never going to have problems. And just because you have problems doesn't mean that you're going to ignore it and act like everything is good. I mean, it is good sometimes to be like that and be optimistic and positive, but the reality is, let's be real. We do go through difficult times in life, whether it's personal, okay, whether perhaps there are people that are going through marital problems, relationship problems, addiction problems, illnesses, anything like that. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Sometimes I think we try to do everything ourselves, whether it's pride or for whatever reason, we just don't ask for help. And there is nothing wrong with asking someone for help. Whether it's just for someone to lend a listening ear, for someone to hear you out. Sometimes someone might come and call you, and just the other day, a very good friend of mine called me, and she was just letting out everything that she was going through. And I felt, I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to keep you in my prayers, but I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. And she said, I don't expect you to do anything about it. All I need you to do is to be here and listen to me. And the reality is that's all we need. Sometimes we just want someone to listen to us. And someone just to be there to listen and to even nod their head instead of making you feel that you are drowning over a glass of water, but at least there's someone's there and telling you, you know what, you're right. Everything you're going through, there's a reason why, there's a reason why you feel like that. You have a very good reason why you're feeling this way, and so forth. So nothing is wrong with you feeling that way. But today I want to also share a few of the things that I went through uh, because someone actually called me, um, and this is also dedicated to that person. I don't want to say any names because everything is confidential, but this person knows who you are. Um, One of the things that this person told me was, how was it that when you went through your surgery, how did you overcome that? Because it wasn't easy. But now I see that you're doing all of these things and you're just moving on. So I want to start with by talking about my experience. I'm going to share two different experiences that I went through, but one of them was this: when I was in the accident, and I had to have surgery because I had two broken discs in my neck. During that time, it was very, very hard for me. For those of you who were with me while I was going through this, you would know there were times that I would cry. I mean, there were times that I would cry day and night. I felt terrible because I always felt like I had to be the strong one for my family, for my kids, for my husband. Um, I never wanted to allow them to see me this way. But when I had to have I had um surgery in my neck, and I still have, you could still see, but it's beautiful. I think the scar is beautiful. They opened through here and they were able to put two artificial discs in my neck. But I have to say, it was the worst. I've had surgeries before. This was one of the worst surgeries I've ever had to go through. I mean, the pain was unbearable. Pain medications wouldn't do anything to it. Due to that, they waited too long to do the surgery, because this type of surgery wasn't something that you would jump in right away and say, we'll do it. They were really hoping that I would get better, but my pain did not improve. It would just get worse and worse and worse. And of course, a numbing sensation on my arms. The pain would go down my arms, my shoulders, my neck, and it was pretty bad. When they realized, after so much therapy and so many epidural injections and constantly going to the doctors, and they realized, you know what, you're not getting any better, and then they saw that I had two ruptured discs, then they said, the only solution is surgery. So that was basically the last thing. So the accident was in January 2019, and they ended up doing surgery on me in October of 2019. And during that time with the surgery, it was so unbearable. I mean, for people who have gone, of course, like I always say, anything that you go through, it could be worse. Or there are other people that are going worse, are doing, going through worse things than you are. For example, I thank God it wasn't cancer. Like people who suffer from cancer, if you're out there listening to me, you're going through you were diagnosed with cancer, you're going through chemo. I've never had that experience, and I just pray strength over your lives, because I know people that have had this, have had to go through chemo, and it literally drains you out, and it takes every bit of energy that you have within yourself. And a lot of times people with that get chemo, they get really sick. So anything that you go through in life, for me, I always try to talk myself and say, you know what, it could have been worse. I just count my blessings that I was here to tell about it. That accident could have been tragic. But nevertheless, through all of this, my pain, while my family was sleeping, I would be crying. My kids would come to my room and give me food. And I would just start crying because of the pain. I remember telling my daughter, and even my son, when they would come into my room, sometimes the pain was so unbearable that I would say, please, please massage me. And they would start massaging me just to alleviate a little bit of that pain that I would feel. And they would see me crying, and I hated that. I hated that they would see me crying. because even today we talk about it. And my daughter, my 19-year-old, tells me that she felt so helpless at the time because she would see me crying and she didn't know what else to do. And that's something that I really don't like to have my kids feel that way, or my husband. They were wonderful. But during this time, when we're going through some sort of sickness or dealing with anything like that, it is very hard because we don't feel like ourselves, we're not able to do our normal daily chores, our daily routines, or sometimes we have to be in bed. I had to be in bed rest for a while, and I had to have the special neck brace, and I had to sleep with that. It was so uncomfortable. And I'm the type of person that I'm so used to doing so many things. I like to be busy all the time. So it was so hard. But this person that called me today, she was like, Brenda, how did you do it through all of that? She's experiencing some difficulties right now, physically, through her health as well. And she was asking me this. And, other than, of course, I would read the scriptures, and of course my faith, and I would, constantly praying to the Lord to give me the strength, and constantly just, when you're feeling like this, a day feels like months, and months feels like years, and you just wonder, when am I going to feel better again? But one thing is that during this time, we are human, and God knows. He knows our struggles. He knows our fears, and there's nothing wrong with by saying, I need your strength. I feel like I have no more strength of my own. There's nothing wrong with that. That when we admit to that, that is a sign of bravery. It takes a lot to be able to acknowledge that, to acknowledge and say, I need your strength, Lord. Father God, please, I need you more than ever now. And when we call on to the Lord and we admit this and we acknowledge that he is our strength, because us alone, we cannot do it. It's a sign of bravery, of courage. And to be able to say and acknowledge and say, you know what? I'm not made out of clay. I'm human. I go through things, and we go through fears, and so many things come to our mind, we start thinking things, or even, the anxiety and the depression kicks in sometimes. But we have to learn to stand up strong, even when we feel we can't. And take the determination that we're going to fight this, and that we're going to overcome this, and that this too shall pass, and that better days will come, because they will. I promise you. I promise you. So one of the things that I did when I was going through this, the pain meds wouldn't do anything. So the pain was just excruciating, and I would just cry and cry. And during the night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., my kids and husband, would be sleeping, and I didn't want to wake them up. I didn't want them to see me crying. So I started doing something. And if you can see right behind me, I have some paintings. This is what I started to do. I started to do oil paintings during my most difficult times, when I was in severe pain. And this is what helped me, on top of course, first the Lord and the scriptures and remembering his promises. But the oil painting helped me to take my mind off the pain and focus on this. And this is what I started. So this, every time I would take a stroke and I would start painting, it would remind me of, yes, you can. Brenda, yes, you can. You can do this, Brenda. Yes, you can. And this is what I want to tell you today. Yes, you can. I always wanted to do this, but I would see it as something as like just wishful thinking, someday in another life, I probably could have been a painter, you know. I'm not Picasso, but you know what? It doesn't have to be on the other life is today. Is this life. This is the life that was given to you. So this is the life that God wants you to go out there, lose all the fear, and in the midst of your troubles, in the midst of your problems, in the midst of your worries, of your illnesses, allow whatever it is, all those hidden talents to come out and start. So I started oil painting, and every time I would be in pain, I would be oil painting. I would be oil painting. I would imagine myself in these places. And sometimes I could, my kids tell me, Mom, why do you only do paintings of, you know, like the mountains and the lakes and the waters? And they make fun of me, or not in a malicious way, but they say, Bob Ross and things like. But you want to know why I like to do these types of paintings or these types of scenic or sceneries? Because that is where I wanted to be at that time. The pain was so intense that I wanted to be somewhere peaceful, somewhere where I would be able to escape. And that's where the Sweet Escape came out from. I developed my blog. So I started doing my oil paintings, which helped me. I encourage you that if you're going through something, come out of your comfort zone. Come out of your routine, your daily routine. Start doing something, whether it's painting, sewing, sculpting, uh, baking, cooking, anything at all. The point is that you develop a hobby that is going to help you to teach you to try to keep your mind out of all of those things, out of whatever it is that you're going through at this point, and make you remind you that there's so much more of you, that you have so much to give, that you have so much potential, that yes, you can, and you will overcome this, and better days will come. And, some people probably might ask themselves, wow, Brenda started oil painting, and she's baking, and she's then blogging, and she's podcasting, and she's doing her YouTube. And you want to know why I did it? Because the pain was so intense that I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go do it. Everything that I've been wanting to do, everything that years and years I've been always like, wow, I could have done this. I should have done a podcast. I should have done that. It came to the point that during my pain, I was like, well, why not? Why can't I do it? I could do it. Why not? And so that's why I started doing all of this. My YouTube channel, my blog, my podcast, my paintings, my baking. Everything is a hobby that I do because it's so self-rewarding. Every time I'm done with something and I accomplish it, and I have completed it, and I see the end result, it is such a self-rewarding feeling to be able to say, wow, I did this. And I encourage you today, if I can do it, you can do it too. I encourage you to develop, start a hobby, see your inner talents, your inner gifts, and don't let nothing stop you. Dedicate time for yourself. How many times do we dedicate time for everyone else? Whether it's our kids, our family, and that's perfect because that's what we're supposed to do. But we also have to dedicate time for ourselves. We also have to give them me time, like I always call it. We have to give time for ourselves to do something self-rewarding. There is nothing wrong with that. You are always giving a bit of yourself to everyone else. Now it's time for you to start doing something for yourself. I want you to be able to see yourself in the mirror, and I want you to be able to say, yes, I can. Yes, I can. If I felt yesterday that I couldn't, well, today is totally different. I'm changing everything around. Yes, I can. So, it's so important. Sometimes we feel or we believe that, we have to be strong all the time. Sometimes we have that, or, and then when we're going through emotional stress, or we start feeling like failures because we're like, why am I, you know, and, and I just want to say, surprise, you are only human and you are allowed to feel that way. You are allowed to feel that way. Just because you feel that way does not mean that you are weak, and it does not mean that you're a failure. God wants you to know that you are more than that you're more victorious, that you're a conqueror, that you can, and yes, you can. Even through the midst of, when you're going through so many hard things, look at yourself in the mirror and just remind yourself that yes, you can. You will overcome this. So while we're talking about problems and what we're going through, I want to, one of the things that I invite you to do as well while you're going through your difficult moments, whatever it is that you're going through, start a journal. I think starting a journal is so good. And you might wonder and say, but I don't like to write things down. You know what? Starting a journal is awesome. Let me explain to you why. When you start a journal, when you're going through hard times, okay? Because I guarantee you that those hard times will pass, okay? And when those hard times pass and you read everything you went through and you see where you are today, then you realize and you are able to see that God was really all this time right there next to you. Okay? Because so many times when we're going through trials and we call upon the Lord, we call upon him and yet we feel as if he doesn't hear us, or we feel so alone. Little did we know that he was more closer to us than ever before, than what we thought. He was literally carrying us. And that's when I think of that favorite poem, The Footprints. The Footprints is such an amazing poem because it is so real. I have witnessed it. I have seen it. After I go through my hard times, God reminds me that he is with me all along, that all along he was carrying me. Even if I felt like he wasn't, he sure was. And to be able to feel that is just incredible. To be able to know that God is with us is more than extraordinary to see that. So this is the reason why I'm saying, write a journal, date it, time it. When you're going through your most, even when you're feeling like you're so alone, write that down too. Write that down. What you went through that day, whatever happened to you, write it down. And when this is all over, the trial is all over, the bad moments are all over, and you read that, then we're able to say, wow, the Lord really did carry me through all of that. He did strengthen me, even though I felt I was alone. But then you read this and you're like, wow, there was no way that I could overcome that if it wasn't for the Lord. So let me take a cup of tea because I'm going to talk about a topic that is so, so close to my heart. On March 3rd, it was 7 years after my baby sister's passing. And wow, my sister was in the hospital for 3 months, for 3 full months. And because I had such an amazing boss, I have to say, he was, I was working at the hospital at the time. And I had an amazing boss that I call him my angel, because He was the one that encouraged me that I had to fly to New York to be with my sister. Um, and while I was worried about my job, that I would come to know I would have no more job, he would always comfort me and assure me that my job would be waiting there. So I bless his life, and wherever he is, you know who you are. I always pray for him, and I ask God to continue to bless him and open doors wherever he goes. He was an amazing boss, someone that gave me full complete support during my most difficult time. That's one thing, that you're going through this, and the last thing you need to worry about is, am I going to have work back, when I get back. But I was able to go back and forth during those 3 months to go to be with my sister. And I remember that during those times, I would camp out with my parents in the waiting room of the hospital. And during those times, it felt so surreal. I couldn't even believe that I was going through that. I would say, this all feels like a complete nightmare. I can't believe this is happening. And during that time, we still were praying, and we were hopeful that my sister would make it out of there. But I remember one time, you know, when you say to yourself, I can't, God comes and tells you, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because when we can't, we could with him, because he can. And sometimes we depend so much on our own understanding and on our own strength. And we have to remember that it's not all about our own strength and our own understanding. We could only do so much, but we're limited. And when we reach a certain level, then God goes and says, okay, now I'm going to take over. Now I'm going to start. And, I remember that there was a moment when my sister was so sick that I called on to the Lord. I called on to him with all my heart and soul. I went to the bathroom. I didn't care that it was the bathroom. I went in there. I literally went on my knees, and I remember crying out to him. And I remember telling him, I have no more strength of my own. I told him, this is the moment, Lord, when I ask you for that strength that I've always told people about, that supernatural strength that you give us. That's the strength that I need right now, because I do not have any more strength of my own. Literally, I have none, zero, not even 1 ounce of strength in my soul, in my heart, in my being. And I remember calling out to him, and saying, I need you more than ever before, Lord. It was a really rough 3 months. And I started that journal. I started the journal while I would camp out on the hospital. Every time the doctors will come in. I hope, sorry about that. Sorry about that. And every time the doctors will come in, I started writing everything down in that journal. And I remember being in the waiting room, and it would be like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, because I wouldn't sleep. My sister wasn't able to talk anymore. She was so weak. So she would just call me on my phone, and I would just see it ringing, and it was her. She was in ICU, and I would just run to her room at the time. But it was very, very hard. But one thing that I learned about writing this journal, and believe it or not, though, 7 years have gone by, and I think I haven't read the journal to the fullest. I think I probably read it once. But that journal remind me, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And why do I say about writing a journal? Because when you write a journal and time goes by, you are able to see God's wonderful hand in your life. You are able to see how He was with you through it all. But most importantly, you are able to help others. Through your experience, through what you are going through today, your testimony, okay, your hard times will be someone's strength on the day of tomorrow. And that's something that I want you to remember. Whatever you are going through, you are a living testimony. There is nothing big or small. There's nothing too small, because everything that we go through in life, after we pass it, after we go through it, after we've seen God's hands in our life, we are able to share this with others who are going through the same thing, and we are able to strengthen their lives, and we are able to be a living testimony to them and say, you know what, I made it through, so can you. And that's when you have to remember that we have to believe that all things are possible if we believe. And that's when you have to remember that yes, you can. So that's why today I want to encourage you. I want to remind you that yes, you can. Everyone is different. Everyone suffers differently. Everyone approaches their trials differently. But no matter what you're going through, yes, you can. If I was able to go through all of this, through the grief and the sadness of the loss of my sister, she was the only sister I had, my baby sister, my youngest sister. But I was able to see God's hand through all of it and know that He was with us, with my parents, with her daughters. And we saw God's hand. And today we are able to testify it, and we're able to acknowledge it, and we're able to see it. So I want you to start a hobby, whatever you want to start. And if you want to start oil painting, well, that's great. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a Picasso, but hey, if you want to start oil painting and you want a little help or how to start, you have no idea where to start from, reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to help you out. I want to hear all about your hobbies. I want to hear all about, anything that you start. Please share it with me. You will be surprised of the talents and gifts that you have hidden all this time. I know that you can do it. I want you to remember, yes, you can. So when you see yourself in the mirror the next time, remember, yes, you can. You're going to say to yourself in the mirror, yes, I can. I can do it. Things are going to get better. This too shall pass. Positive attitude. You are stronger than you think. You can do this, and you will. So I pray blessings over your life. I pray strength over your life. I know that you can do this. If you're out there and you have been feeling that you can't anymore, and and fear has come over your life, putting fear and doubts in your mind, I ask you and I speak positive attitude over you. I speak all positive thoughts. I cast away all negative thoughts, anything that's negative in your life that's trying to put you down. I cast it out in Jesus' name. I pray blessings over your life, and I know that you can do it, because if I did it, you can do it too. And you can do even more things. I mean, People might say, oh my gosh, Brenda's doing this and Brenda's doing that. You have to remember, it's not about me. Everything that I do is not for me. It's for God's glory, but it's not about me. Whether it's my painting and my cooking and all of everything else that I do, it is because this is how I'm able to de-stress. This is how I'm able to feel good about myself. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with doing something that's going to make you feel good about yourself, because when you are done with the end result, you see that and you feel so proud of yourself. So I want you to be proud of yourself. I want you to be proud of who you are. I want you to remember that age doesn't matter. If you couldn't do it when you were younger, well, why not now? And you know what? I don't care. You know what? I'm 54. I don't see myself old. I see myself like this is just the beginning. This is my prime time. And whatever I couldn't do years ago, I can do it today. And why not? So I encourage you to go out there. I encourage you to be strong, to remember that yes, you can. This too shall pass. Please, if you decide to do a hobby or anything that you decide to start, I want you to share it with me. I want to know all about it. And if you start something, I will even put you on my YouTube channel so you can share it. Please, please, please start your journals. Of course, your journals are, those are confidential. But I encourage you to start your journals so you can actually see your life come alive. And you're able to see how God is with you every step of the way. Remember that poem, Footprints, how he carried you. Okay, he carries you, and you only see one set of footprints, and those set of footprints happen to be the prints of the Lord. And that's exactly how it is. So you are not alone. The Lord is with us. Continue, keep up with the faith. Let's keep up with the scriptures, because his promises are real, and they're real not only for yesterday, they're also real for today and for tomorrow. Remember, his promises are there. And I also encourage you to continue in prayer, because I am a true believer in prayer. Prayer is so powerful as well. But at the same time, also continue hobbies, do something for yourself, get creative, develop that courage, to step out of your comfort zone and start something fresh and new. So God bless. I hope that this was a blessing to you. Love you all. Until next time. Remember, yes, you can.